Sandra, good morning, and thanks for your time. And you know, more and more, I think we don't need to only be talking about this when it's Teen Suicide Prevention Week, because what we're seeing happening to our kids is shocking, and the fact that they feel that this is the only way that they can deal with their problem. What are you seeing as a psychologist?
Yeah, so I think there's often a build-up, and kids really generally and teens struggle to talk about how they're feeling and what's going on for them, and then we land up with this extreme case of suicide because they're tolerating so much. But you're correct in saying we should be having this discussion all year through, not just when it's Prevention Week. You know, we want to be mindful from the start of the year when kids are going back into school, when they're changing, you know, there may be adjustment issues, bullying issues. We need to be talking about and having these conversations.
Now, for you and what you've seen and heard and who you deal with, what are the main reasons for our teenagers? And it's not just teenagers, right? The kids are getting younger, those who are attempting to take their own lives. What is the main reason? What are the main causes? I mean, is it a teacher? Is it friends? Is it parents? What are you hearing?
Well, I think generally it's always a combination of factors. So I think one thing to remember is someone who's suicidal is not necessarily suffering from a mental illness, or mental condition rather, but a lot of people think that. But rather, I think it can be challenges at school, difficulty then talking to the parents, having issues with friends, feeling they can't talk to parents, home issues that are happening. So it's a combination of factors sometimes, but it can be for multiple reasons. It can also be for an untreated mental condition, but it's not always the case.
Well, I suppose then, you know, parents who are watching this morning will go, but how will I know, whatever the reason is, whatever the reason my child feels they can't come and tell me, how will I know that something is that wrong? I mean, you always know when something's wrong. You have a sulky child, you have somebody who's in a bad mood, but how will you know when it's reached that stage? Yeah,
and sometimes I think not all parents can pick up the signs, okay, because they don't look like traditional signs. So the first thing is, I think, to look out for recent loss. You know, loss of self-esteem, loss of interest in things, loss of a friend, loss of a relationship. So it doesn't have to actually be someone you've lost physically, as in someone who's passed away. It can be loss of a number of things, okay? Changes in behavior, so concentration, interest in doing things, changes in personality, they're more irritable, they're more anxious, changes in appetite, not wanting to sleep, oversleeping. So there's a number of kind of physical signs, withdrawing, being socially withdrawn, just seeing them not hang out with the usual friends that they do. So those are just kind of initial signs that you think, oh, something might be going on, I need to probably chat to my child.
And we shouldn't just put it down to teenage hormones as we usually do at times.
And I think even the idea of teenage hormones doesn't mean that's not something that needs to be talked through, because even for a teenager, the transition you're going through doesn't make sense. So you still need someone to check on you.
If it seems too much, if it doesn't fit that stage of life, it might be more than what they should be experiencing at that time. Now, I know SADAG has a lot of activities planned for the week. Now, I also know that there are lots of apps and things out there that allow kids to talk to someone, if not their parent. So how well, to your knowledge, are those things working? How effective will they be in the long run?
Well, I think anything that's using social media and a phone platform that's not necessarily phone-based is going to be very helpful, because a phone requires you to call in, airtime, those kind of things. But SADAG does receive a lot of calls anyway on the call center. But things like the WhatsApp line that CIPLA has, or the Facebook Friday chats, which a lot of teens are on Facebook, being able to anonymously ask questions and talk about this is really important and really effective. Is it almost, in a way, encourages teenagers to talk without feeling they might get held accountable or anything like that.
So let's talk privacy very quickly, because most often when, as a parent, when you think that something is wrong, you want to delve into your child's life, you want to maybe chat to a friend, look at their diary if they still keep one. You know, how would you advise? What kind of delving or investigation
should you do?
Should you do?
Well, I think if you're concerned for your child, I never advocate for going almost imposing on their privacy, because chances are when they're struggling, they're not going to tell you because they find that you're being too intrusive. If you're really concerned, rather take them to a professional to get them checked out, and let the professional decide what intervention is needed. Often with teenagers, they're required to give you some form of feedback anyway, especially if it's related to suicide, like I'm concerned or I'm not concerned, but at least you know you've got someone who's looking at this issue, but also you've provided your child with a safe space to talk through what they need.
It's an objective and independent person, independent of the family. Okay, very quickly, just general places to contact for anybody who doesn't have a phone, doesn't have an app. might get to a call box at some point and want to call somebody, where are the places they should look for?
All right, so I think if they manage to get to a call box and manage to get to a phone, the best thing to do is call the SADAG helpline, but do the toll-free number, which is the 0800 567 567 number.
Okay, we have that number up there. 0800
Great.
567 567.
That's perfect. So that's the number you want to get to, because that will just get you to SADAG, and once you're able to call and get to SADAG, they will provide you with all the resources, and they'll even call you back if they need to. Okay. So that's, I would say, your first line of call.
And okay.
Otherwise, if you're really struggling, I would say go straight to the nearest hospital. There would be a counselor or a psychologist available, even your nearest clinic sometimes. Yeah. Not always available, but at least you can try and get some kind of appointment.
If it's that urgent. Okay, if those feelings are overwhelming. Thank you very much for that. It's the simple things that we forget that we can do, and the people we can reach out to. That's psychologist Cassandra Govender. It is Teen Suicide Prevention Week.